What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am here with the 2023 BMW M1000 single R competition model. Now the competition model is different than the standard M1000 single R model because it is black, not white, comes with carbon bits. Little things like carbon wheels, stuff like that really makes this stand out. And what really makes this model stand out from everything is the 40 extra horsepower we're getting out of this motor, from 165 in the standard R to 205 on the M1000 single R. Huge benefit on the engine here. And we're dealing with the electronics, get some goodies here and there. Nice and fluid, just like the M1000RR. You get the M1000 splash screen. You also got the standard Akrapovic exhaust. You've also got these winglets here. The winglets add 22 pounds of downforce at about 136 miles an hour, something like that. That's what allowed BMW engineers to take the handcuffs off this motor essentially and give you guys the power that it needs. I definitely like the bike. It definitely is something special. Comes with an LED headlight, even has the M insignia inside the headlight that lights up when you key the bike on. Everything about this bike is great. The geometry is different than the standard. They put a whole lot of engineering into this bike to make it feel great. So love to take it out and do the ride review. We're going to do the before and after testing on the dyno, 60 through 130 testing. We'll even compare this bike versus another M1000 single R, stock versus tuned, meaning both bikes will be exactly the same, stock exhaust, stock everything. One will be tuned, one will be stock. So that'll be the difference there. So let's go ahead and get started and let's get riding on this bike. All right, we're going to do stock impressions here. M1000 single R, 2023 model, first one. Let's get going on the road here. First, let's get that beautiful startup screen, the M splash. For start, let's get going on the side of the road here. All right. A clutch engagement, and this actually feels a lot like an S1000RR, which, big shocker, same motor, so we're going to expect a lot of the same things, with the exception, of course, of that 47 rear tooth sprocket, which is different than a 46 rear tooth sprocket on the 2023 S1000RR. So let's go ahead and see if we got that second gear nastiness going on here. 6,000 RPM. I should be able to give it everything and nothing happens. Yep. On the power just comes on and the wheel goes straight up at about 10,000 RPM, which is to be expected, again, just like the 2023 S1000RR. The shifting, nice and smooth, buttery, just like the 23 as well. I really like how they ported over from the 21, 22 M1000RR with the shifter. It is so smooth. It is unreal how smooth this is. Low gears, seamless shifting. Even when you're low throttle coming into different shifting, feels amazing. And of course, there's plenty of power in this thing once the power comes on in second gear. And these restrictions, again, just like the S1000RR, in second, third, fourth, and now fifth gear. Of course, second gear is the worst offender. Third gets less bad, and so on until fifth. And there's barely any restrictions there. And then we've also got the top end restrictions on this bike as well, which also cut a significant amount of power out of the top end, which wasn't before seen, of course, like in the S1000RR 20 through 22 models. So this is a pretty zippy little bike, I'll give you that right now. I mean, for something that weighs, I think, some in the neighborhood of, like, with this model, the comp model, I believe is like 428 pounds, I believe. Get the exhaust out of here, you're low 400s. I mean, this is a light bike, and none of that weight is in front of the head, is in front of the forks. I mean, usually that's what you find, and I think that's why BMW finally decided to take the shackles off this bike, is to put these wings on either side of here that provide about 22 pounds of downforce at 132 or 136 miles an hour or something like that, which I don't know how good that's going to do, honestly. I mean, this thing, especially with a 47 rear tooth, I mean, this is going to be a monster, you know? Like, I can barely keep this thing on the ground. Yeah, it doesn't want to stay on the ground. Hits that limitation in second and can't keep the tire up, no way. Got some decent power though. I mean, for a naked bike, I'm used to the S1000 single R, which is 165 horsepower. We got this thing maxed out at 205 horsepower.
Of course, that's when we unrestricted and all that fun stuff. Right now, it's kind of it's a roller coaster of power. The power's either there, it's not there. Like right here, not really there, and then it piles on all of a sudden at the top end of it. It's like throws you into the back of the seat. So you got to be kind of careful what you're doing, especially with a 47 rear tube sprocket on this setup, because man, it's dangerous how fast the tire can go up. You got to have a lot of throttle control. So I'm going to get this thing over to some turns right now. I'm going to basically say it's the same thing as the S1000R right now as far as the low end goes, light to light, stopping and starting. It really is impressive with the 47 rear tooth. Makes it more punchy, a lot more punchy. And I think that's going to definitely hurt it up top as far as top speed goes, but I don't think we're going to hit much top speed on this bike in the first place, with being a naked bike, and the aero is like a garage door when you get over about 150 miles an hour anyway, so it's not really that important to go that fast. But this is a track inspired model, and that's why they give it mainly for the power. This thing will do great at tracks like Chuckwalla here in Southern California, low speed track, something that requires something torquey. This thing will do amazing, especially with that shift cam technology. So what do we got on the itinerary for this bike? Well, right now I'm going to be taking this thing to test some of the top end of the bike, see exactly where that lands. I think it's going to be pretty impressive, especially with that sprocket on the rear. Got to get some gas first though. After we're done doing the stock testing in the 63-130 stock, we're going to be going to the dyno, testing stock versus tuned, see how much power we're making there, and then of course going back out, testing this all over again in 63-130. But I also have a little surprise. I have the YouTuber IMK. He's a friend of mine. He's going to be helping us test tuned versus untuned, meaning after dyno testing and this thing's done, I'm going to put it to stock. K's bike will be tuned, and then we'll race this bike versus his bike to see a true difference between tuned and untuned. Both the bikes are stock, so I think that's going to be kind of exciting here. So I'm going to go grab some gas here really quick. Very needed right now, especially with how far I need to go. Back on the road. I'm gonna try to find some top speed stuff. This light looks green to me. So as soon as I do, I'll get back on here so I can show you guys what this bike can do top end, because this stop and go stuff is for the birds. This bike is not meant to do this stuff. It doesn't want to do this stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and test this top end here. The chassis feels pretty stable. Now BMW, what they did here is second gear dead spot is killing me right now. BMW, what they did, no power, and then all the power. That 1/4 inch less wheelbase than the S1000RR, and actually the geometry is a little different than the S1000RR as well. So it does feel slightly different. Something more aggressive in the turns, I would say. The throttle is definitely too jerky. I'm definitely not liking the roller coaster throttle here. I mean, this thing is like nasty. There's so many flat spots in it. First gear doesn't really have any flat spots, so I can... The second gear has all the flat spots. Oh yeah, it feels good though. Don't get me wrong. Bike feels great, good diving into a turn. Oh yeah, plenty of power. The front is wandering. Don't know how much I like that. And that's with the steering damper is turned all the way up on this thing, and the front's wandering around. Don't know if I'm in love with that. good though. The bike feels good as is. I just don't like this power. All right. So I'm not liking. See what I don't like about this bike. The top end of it, there's plenty of power on this bike. More than enough. Scary amounts of power on this bike. Even as it sits. But I don't like the delivery method. Second gear just wads power on. It upsets the hell out of this chassis. Coming in and out of turns, the throttle's way jerky. I mean, way jerky. I mean, yeah, you can dull the settings, but I think there's a way we can do this with the tuning, where we can do tip in a little less aggressive than how it is, because it's so jerky. Right when you're coming on off throttle, it's just like and that top end, past 100 miles an hour, this thing just starts doing this, past 100 miles an hour. I have the steering damper turned all the way up. It is locked to the point where this is as stiff as it gets. I'll be testing this more, especially when we do our top speed runs, 60 through 130, and we'll see exactly this thing starts dancing around. So let's go ahead and check out the 60 through 130 then. All right, we're here with the 2023 M1000 single R, and we're getting that stock baseline 60 through 130. Let's see what she does. Let's get it. Oh my God, there's no power, no power. Okay, there's the power. There it is. Come on, baby. This bike don't like going speed. So you guys saw that 60 through 130 deep into the fives. Deep into the fives. Which honestly for a naked is not bad. But for a naked with 205 horsepower, I would say is bad. So we're gonna have to really open this thing up, get it to the dyno, check it out. Now you did see this thing starts to speed wobble crazy, and I mean crazy, at about 140 miles an hour. I think this is going to have, if anyone wants to take this thing over 100 miles an hour consistently and have it feel good, you're going to have to put an aftermarket steering damper on here. Like an Olin's or something on the front of this bike. It's not enough stock. It starts wandering. That's not a tank slap. But it starts wandering enough to the point like this where you're like, is this ever going to come out? What's going to happen here? It feels steady, but it doesn't feel good. And I haven't felt that from another naked. I tested the Rush, I've tested the V4 Street Fighter, and I've really pushed those bikes as fast as they'll go. The Rush over 190 miles an hour, and absolutely no issues. This bike has an issue with that. And interested to see, I would love to see this bike with an Olin steering damper on here, because I think that would really, really fix this thing. So if any other owners have that issue, I think that's what I'm suggesting. I did speak with Kay recently about the issue with the steering damper. He actually has the same issue with his M1000 single R. This bike just loves to shake around. It's the same issue I'm describing. It's not a different one, it's the same exact one. About 140 miles an hour, this bike says, nah, let's not go this fast anymore, and starts shaking around basically. And he also maxed out his steering damper as well. It's the best it can do. So I would really recommend, strongly recommend, an aftermarket steering damper on this thing. Other than that, this bike feels great. I mean, top end, it feels confidence inspiring in a turn when you got the power figured out, and it's not just smashing the power into you mid apex or coming out finishing a turn, it just smashes a bunch of throttle at you. So I think tuning's really going to help everything come together for this bike. Some final notes here. Like I was saying, the shifting is great on this bike. They took it from the M1000R and they adapted it to the S1000R, and now this bike, and it feels amazing. I've actually torn this bike down too. This actually has funnels that move around, not like the regular S1000 single R. This is more like an S1000 double R, this engine. In fact, from the stem back, it is an S1000R in this midsection. The engine, the way it's put together, I've noticed no difference. There is one difference between a part of the harness and the way the throttle's connected, but I think that's just a normal thing for these bikes, and they're kind of switching over. It's a possibility. But other than that, no major mechanical difference, engine the same and everything like that. So the engine does feel great. The bike does feel really light in the front end, and I think that's part of the issue why we're getting this thing wagging around so much. And I think the wings are needed on this thing to kind of put it down to the ground a little bit. Again, I haven't taken his wings off to feel it any other way, but they are extremely sturdy. Like, they really feel connected to this bike. It's not just kind of for show. This is definitely functional. So other than that, other than the power restrictions, the top end I feel a little bit up there. The mid-range I feel it a lot. We got to get rid of that stuff. Get rid of their jerky throttle. That's what I think our actual notes are going to be for this bike. We're going to go from there. So let's get this thing over to the dyno. And I think Kay is actually going to meet us at the dyno too. So we can just dyno both these bikes and, you know, now we'll have data for two of them rather than just one of them. So I think that's a really good idea. Because then we'll see a consistent power between the two bikes rather than just one glory pass from one factory freak, for example. So I'll see you guys over the dyno. I'm here at least in San Diego. We have not only one M1000 single R, but we have two M1000 single Rs, and my buddy Kay showed up, and we're gonna be tuning both of them today. Why not? Let's just put them both on. Let's compare them. Let's see what power they make and restrictions in second gear. Let's see everything. We're wrapped up here with the M1000 single R, and we actually got IMK in here.
What is up, everyone?
So we actually did his bike, and his bike actually made more steam than our test bike did, and we attribute that to him breaking in a certain way, which was beating the hell out of it. So here we go. This is stock versus tuned. Look at that canyon right there. Massive canyon right there. We're getting about 20 wheel horsepower end to end, extended RPM limiter. Of course, you see everything's nice and smooth out here with our tune file versus the stock file, which is blue. Even down here, we gain power. Right there in that mid-range, this is 5th gear. 8-wheel horsepower right there, bam. And if we're going to look at, here, let me do this real fast. I'll show you guys what second gear looks like, because that's the most disgusting offender on this bike. This is second gear, and no, I'm not joking. This is full throttle, both pulls. I'm not pulling any tricks, same tank of gas, same everything. I mean, you can see right here we gain 50 wheel horsepower. I mean, right around 49 wheel horsepower, sorry. Extended rev limiter, and you can just see, this is a nightmare. This is 600 power right here. This is a 600 cc power, and this is what it changes to in second gear. Now, of course, every gear is not like second gear. Second, third, fourth, and fifth are limited on this bike, but second gear is the worst. So I just wanted to show you guys what that looked like, stock versus tuned. And it's crazy. But we got some good power in this thing. We got K with an E85 tune.
I'm excited to try that.
You can actually, he actually said he's actually gonna rent this bike out. I think he's insane for doing that, but you can rent this bike out. Well, what's the website?
Superbike Rentals on Instagram.
Superbike Rentals on Instagram. You can rent this exact bike, the one he's sitting on, and we just tested right now. It's making stupid amounts of power. If you want to kill yourself, rent it. We'll see what this thing does on the street now. We're gonna.
This is crazy. It doesn't make sense.
we're gonna race them together now. We're gonna race both the M1000s together and see what stock versus tuned. All right, everyone. I'm back with the 2023 M1000 Single R Post Flash. Let's go ahead and get started here. First thing we're going to notice here is the open exhaust valve. So right when you start the bike up, it stays open, and it closes, then it opens again. And it sounds a lot better. And I got this thing having a neutral limiter of 10,000, which is cool if you have an actual exhaust. Makes it sound really aggressive. And we can include that in the Flash as well. If you have a motorcycle that has no exhaust and you're on the fence about, oh, I need an exhaust because it needs to be a little bit louder, just wait till you flash it first, because this is a full-time closed loop bike. It's not going to matter because not reverse shift here. It's not going to matter because if you go for a system after that, or whatever you do, you're going to go race or whatever it is. Oh yeah, that feels so much better. If you're going to race or whatever it is, then what I'm going to tell you
I would say use the stock exhaust first, see how it sounds. If you like it, keep it. If you don't and you want to just change the slip-on or something like that, go for it. It'll give you that nice sound. But if you change the slip-on before you flash it, you're still gonna have to deal with that exhaust valve, and it's not gonna sound good. It's just gonna sound like it's just closed up, and you're not gonna get the benefit of that slip-on. So if you do the flash, see how you like the exhaust first, because it may sound good. I'm getting pops right now. Here, hear that? We didn't get that stock. Now we're getting it. Whoa, another thing we got now that we didn't have before is power. Second gear no longer has that restriction in it I was showing you guys before. This thing is full power now. It's got a lot of power now. This reminds me just like an S1000R, except I've got a weird seating position now. Oh, she's fast. She is fast. And we still deal with a little bit of a wobble here. That's the one problem I'm gonna keep on seeing with this bike until the customer changes out the steering damper. I'm gonna suggest something like, I don't even know what's available for this bike, to be honest, but I think Olin's makes a component that will replace the stock under the headlight there. I think that'll be plenty for this bike. So about this power, oh man, it just keeps going up in the air every single gear. About this power on the dyno, we removed the restrictions, moved the RPM a little bit, see a little bit of red there, moved it up a little bit. We got rear roll restrictions, the top end and the mid-range restrictions in all gears, so now this feels like a completely uncorked bike. And honestly, you might want to just go to a 46 rear tooth sprocket instead of this 47, because this is a lot of bike to handle now. I mean, it is insane how much power this bike has at this point. So I may want to go to 47 tooth and change that steering damper out. This may be the perfect setup, because I love how this thing feels. We're going to take it over to do some top end stuff like we did before. And another thing, I've been riding this thing for, I don't know, 30, 40 miles or something like that. The seat is just like the S1000R, just like the M1000R. It's just not comfy, that M Sport seat or whatever. You guys might want to change the seat out for something that's a little more comfortable for longer rides, because the seating position, very comfortable. I could do this for hours, just sit like this and ride. The only caveat we've got here is bugs just nailing me all the time, because it's got no windscreen here to shield me from. But other than that, it's extremely comfy except for the seat. So that's the one thing I changed. I changed the seat. I probably changed the sprocket back to a 46. It'll make this thing actually a little bit faster in my opinion, because you're not constantly nannying the throttle. And that steering damper in the front, so we don't get this whole, whatever that thing is, it does over 100 miles an hour typically. So I'll see you guys in a little bit here when we get up to the top end stuff. Gonna test a little bit of this top end here, see how good it is. Right now I'm definitely feeling that power. Second gear, yep, it's all there now. Tip in stuff definitely feels more refined now, so that's great. And I really do think a 47 is a little too aggressive for this bike now, with all the power it's got. Shifting in corners, doesn't upset the balance too much. No problems there. Low speed transitions, definitely smoother. Definitely use a steering damper on this thing. Low speed, yeah. It's not as finicky as it was before. Oh yeah, she feels great. Yeah, man, this bike is so confidence inspiring, it's almost scary. Oh yeah. Man, if this bike wasn't shaky, it'd be perfect. Brakes feel amazing in this thing too. I believe it has even the wider discs on this one that came from the new S1000R. Oh yeah, oh man. It's brutal power, brutal. Man, this bike really gets it now. Wow. So much more linear power, so much more predictable, which even makes it that much more confidence inspiring, if you can believe it or not. This bike is a thrill, man. That 40 extra horsepower that they put on this thing over 165, wow, 205 really makes a huge difference on this bike. Man, I mean, the whole chassis, the geometry of this thing, I mean, this is an amazing bike. I don't feel like I'm riding it upright. It's so confidence inspiring. I really like this bike, especially with the Flash. More linear now. The power carries all the way to the top. It's very predictable. The throttle's not as jerky. Everything just feels so smooth now. This is how the bike should have felt from the factory. Absolutely. Now we've done that, let's go ahead and take it over to the 60 through 130 testing and see how much faster this bike got over stock. So stock we did a 5.4. Let's see what we can do after. All right, I'm here with the 2023 M1000 single R, ready to get our after 60 through 130. We'll see what this thing can do. All right, nice clear stretch here. Let's go ahead and get that 60 through 130. Oh, she's a handful. Saw it, a 4.7. Now a 4.7 is the fastest we have ever tested on a naked bike. The V4 Street Fighter 4.9 doesn't touch this bike, and I think if we went to a 46 tooth, it would be even faster than that. This bike is fast. I don't even know what it is. It is brutally fast, let's put it that way. In fact, if we went to a 46 tooth rear on this bike, I think I could have gotten a better time. I didn't really put a lot of effort into it. That was like one pass into it. It did well, so I said, you know what, let's just call it a day. But I have to nanny the throttle in this bike the entire time making that pass. Second gear, I have to nanny the whole thing. Even third gear, I have to sit on the front tire. This thing is just going straight up into the air. I can't sit back in the seat. It's a lot of bike, and then if I sit too far back, then this whole thing starts swinging around. So I think a steering damper, which I keep saying over and over again, along with this Flash, and able to sit back in the seat with a different sprocket, this bike would be even faster 60 through 130, if you can believe that. That's amazing. I also went out, and I'll show you this, guys. I'll show you this to you right now. I just went out with Kay, and we went and tested his bike that was tuned, and I put this one back to stock. I reset the adaptations, put it back to stock, just to see bike to bike, both with no modifications, to see which one's faster. I'm here with Kay today.
What's up, guys?
We got the his M1000 and our test M1000, and today we're going to be racing them. We've got our test M1000, which is stock tuning, and his M1000, which is BT Moto Flash. So we're going to see the difference between these two bikes, tuned and untuned. Other than that, they're both stock as a rock. You can see they both got the stock suitcase exhausts right there, stock and stock. No air filters, no nothing. We even got the same mirrors on these things. I mean, the only thing modified on this thing, I think it's got a radiator guard and an oil guard, and this one doesn't. So maybe this one's got the air advantage.
I did also take off my hazards.
Oh,
weight savings over
he
there,
took
so.
off the reflector, so I don't know, that could mess up the top end of this
man.
bike, because it could just sail right by just because of that. So we got these two bikes, and we've also got a Busa and an RC that are gonna be chasing, so we'll see if we can get some races with those two bikes too. But mainly, this video is to show the difference between these two bikes, tuned and untuned. Both stock. Kay and I are both very similar weights, about 180-ish. He's a little shy on maybe, what 170 or something?
I mean, right now with all of this, yeah, now I'm at like 175, so we probably got like about 5 pounds on me.
Yeah, I got about 5 pounds on you. Okay, so it's pretty similar weights. We've both been riding for a while, and we'll swap the bikes too, just so nobody cries and says, well, Kay's such a better rider, blah, blah, blah. We'll swap them out and go from there. But here we go, guys.
A great day for bikes here today. Got the two M1000s, a couple other bikes. Getting over to the spot right now so we can test these two bikes and see exactly what the difference between tuned and untuned is. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God! Oh, it's a slaughter! Oh man! Oh man! Oh man! So tuned, as you can see, not tuned. Man, that's a big difference. I just got destroyed, completely destroyed. 1, 2, 3. Going, going, going. He's gone. He carried away, he carried away. Alright, I just switched K now, so K is on our test bike, I'm on his bike. So we've got the tuned bike now. This guy's doing aerobics over here. Just go. Just go, dude.
Oh jeez, what the hell? Yeah, second gear. No, there's no way. He's gone.
I'm on third gear, he's in third gear. I'll just go when you go.
Goes.
1, 2, 3. One, two, three.
Oh, what the hell? Ah, it's dead. This is full. I'm full pin. Oh my God.
All right, just got done racing all the bikes, and Kay got a chance to ride the untuned bike versus his bike. What'd you think of the untuned?
I did not want to. That's why I told let's take the exit. I was so over it. I was like, I literally wouldn't have this bike if it wasn't for the two.
It's that big of a difference, right? I mean,
insane. Second and third gear, literally full pin, and the bike is like, nah, never mind. It's like the bike just does its own thing. It doesn't listen, you know what I mean? You guys were literally walking me, and I'm full pin, and until like really high up in the RPM, that's when I'm like, okay, at least you guys are gapping me, but not as bad.
Right.
In the start, you just can't leave, you know what I mean?
yeah, second and third gear is just ridiculous in this bike. It's funny, but yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to race all these awesome bikes.
So I think that's gonna do it for our review here. Let's just kind of go over everything. Oh, my gloves went on for some reason. Let's just kind of recap here. So the Flash, we got rid of those pesky restrictions. No more second through fifth gear restrictions. Raised the rev limiter just a hair. We got that two-step limiter. Sounds good. Well, gets people to move over, I guess. We got the exhaust valve open. The tip end's a lot better. More linear power, more power up top. I mean, this feels like an absolute animal at this point. Sounds a lot better with that exhaust valve open. Basically, the only thing I would say for notes on this bike that it needs, I'll say it till I turn blue in the face, it's gonna need a steering damper, an aftermarket one, to be safe to go higher speed in this thing. Other than that, maybe more comfy seat. And I think this bike is set with just basically a Flash and those couple little fixes. Bike's amazing. I mean, this is the fastest hyper naked we've ever tested by far. The bike is awesome. Oh, I'm in third gear. Whoops. Even third gear, the 47 tooth doesn't really matter. Oh, the bike feels so good now. It just gets right up and goes. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know what else to say about the bike. It's a great all-around bike. Like I said, it's very confidence-inspiring in turns. Feels more comfy than most sport bikes I've taken through, you know, high-speed turns and stuff like that. I did duplicate the shaky issue on Kay's bike as well. Kay has that complaint too. We both haven't touched these bikes. They're both stock as a rock, came like they did from the factory. So I do believe that is a problem we're going to be hearing about from other riders. Man, I mean, this bike is just too good to put into words. I mean, is it worth the, what, $30,000 price tag these things are? I think so. If you really can't stand that whole like aggressive seating thing that you get from a sport bike, this is the ticket right here. This bike is awesome. It looks insane. I mean, an all black look with the carbon and everything. I mean, I think they could have done a little better here with these black plastic here. Everything else is nice and painted. Just got this black random plastic sitting there. They probably could have put the wings in carbon, you know. I mean, I got a couple notes, but I mean, I really can't complain. They did little things here. Like it says M1000 single R right here, like right on the stem. That's pretty cool. They do a bunch of little things in these bikes. So I think that's going to do it for our entire review here, and hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm just going to take this thing on the freeway and have my last little bit of fun with it before the owner has to get it back. So I'll see you guys in the next bike.